Welcome to the Bullpen Show. I'm your host, Austin Alexander, and we're going to talk a ton about our DP fall leagues. They're in full bloom right now. We got Cory Welch. Cory, how are you today?
Good, Austin.
Well, I've got him here with me, and we're going to cover a ton of ground as it pertains to the fall leagues around the state and the different areas that we've got leagues going on. Well, first we'll start with our Palmetto Pros. I always want to give a shout out to those guys that came through, not only down in Prospects, but through the state of South Carolina. Garrett Gainey, Hartsville High School, pitched at South Carolina not that long ago, is rocketing through the Rays organization. They took a bullpen guy and put him in the starting rotation. He just got promoted to AAA. So kudos to Garrett. He's now in AAA with the Rays. Same organization as Brody Hopkins, who's having a banner season. We're hoping he may get a call up here at some point towards the end of September. He's had a great year on their AA team. And a friend of our show, who we've had him on as a podcast, we've talked about him a lot. I'm starting to call him the cat of 9 lives. Cat with 9 lives is CJ Edwards. Honestly, I did not know he had just gotten called back up the other day, and I was flipping around from a game I'd been watching, and lo and behold, CJ's on the mound for the Texas Rangers, which is originally the team that drafted him years ago in the 48th round. Finally gets to the show with those guys. He's thrown 3 hitless innings, scoreless innings as well with Texas in two different outings with those guys. So congratulations on CJ getting back to the big leagues now with his 7th team in the big leagues, still kicking around at the age of 34. So real happy to see CJ doing well back at the major league levels. At this point, Cory, we're just going to bring you in and folks, we're just going to cover ground. This is going to be more upstate driven and Midlands driven. Last week, we covered a lot of interesting ground from the low country. We're going to kind of focus more on 864 and 803 today. So, Cory, we'll just crank up. We're right there. If you could just kind of give us an idea how that league's going after 2 weeks and some players that you've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, we just wrapped up week 2 on Wednesday night. Been off to a great start. I mean, the weather has really cooperated. That's always a driving force. I always tell people, everybody asks how the league's going and stuff. I says, well, as long as it's not raining, we're good to go. We did have just a little blip on Monday night where we lost one game but picked it up. But overall, I mean, it's been great, been really smooth. Coaches have been great to deal with. The officials have been great. And as far as facilities go, it's been all good so far. Knock on wood, that continues for the next few weeks. And then, we'll culminate at the end of the year. Like I got confirmation yesterday, Austin. I hadn't even told you this, that we will be back at Clemson for the select game at the end of the year. So those dates will be posted here soon of our all-star events, which, believe it or not, before you know it, they'll definitely be here. But yeah, so for this week, we're 2 weeks in, and we've already, as a staff, between myself, Barry, and Wesley Rogers has jumped on to assist with us this year. We've covered 36 teams in the first 2 weeks, so we're off to a good start. This week, we knocked out 20. We were at Chapman, Abbeville, Lawrence, and JB Red. And then we were also at Wren High School. So it was good to check in on those guys as well. So, speaking on kind of what the rest of our staff saw, we had, one cool thing about the pop-up about the fall league is every year we always have this one guy, me and Barry always like it, who is our pop-up guy this year. And he found that on Monday night. It's Evan Reimer. He's a kid, he's had success in the past, but, on Monday night at Chapman, he was up to 89, which Greer as a whole, Barry said they look great. They lost in a heartbreaker in the playoffs to a coach I spoke to this morning in Fountain Inn, which, as it goes, Austin, we kind of forget about it. That was a wild extra inning game in the playoffs, but the guys at Greer look poised to have another strong season. As far as what I saw, on Tuesday night, I went down to Abbeville, which is one of my favorite spots. They did have the Ocon Cafe again. I know last year we posted a little bit about that. This year, it was hot dogs. So they were good. Shout out to Coach Little and his staff on providing even good concessions, even in the fall league. But a kid that really jumped out to me on that night was Bryson Selleck. He's a 2029 from Greenwood. Goes to Greenwood High. And he was actually up to 81. As a typical freshman, very raw, but a lot of arm strength. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that kid, makes a little noise even as early as this spring. But yeah, overall, it was a good night. The group at Daniel's group at Abbeville, they're young, but Coach Little does a great job. Even I noticed in between innings, he's out there moving around, with the middle infielders, talking about some pick stuff and things of that nature. That's what I would kind of like to see in this league, is the opportunity of these guys to coach, not just manage a game, but also get to teach along the way. There's a lot of teaching in that 5:30 game a lot of the times where it's younger guys, and it's good to see these coaches really take advantage of that. On Wednesday night, I went over to Lawrence and saw the Greenville Hurricanes, which a lot of people ask what that is. That is a homeschool based team. And it is a program that's been in our league, I would say 5 to 6 years. And Scott Jacobs and Matt Cavan are the coaches there. Scott's actually like he's the program director. But they do a great job of providing opportunities for players, and their players continue to get better. They had a couple of guys that I'll talk about here in a minute that were exceptional. And then anytime I can go hang out with Coach Patterson at Lawrence, I definitely take advantage of it. He's one of my good friends, and getting to see a Lawrence group that looks a little different than previous years, and they'll still be talented. I'll start with Lawrence. Two guys that really stuck out. The first is a kid that he's been on the varsity for a while. Noah Hughes. He was actually our 2028 Player of the Week. He was up to 80. He was 82 to 84 with an improved breaking ball. He's been on the varsity since 8th grade pitching. This is an opportunity for him. He was a region guy last year, but really one of the leaders of the staff, pitching staff between him and Rylan Paxton. So he was really strong in his first inning of work. And then behind the plate, Tristan Busby, he worked a little bit last year behind the dish, but also played some outfield. He's a smaller left-handed hitter, brings a lot of energy, as a lot of the kids at Lawrence do, but he's going to be a good one as well. I know Bennett Edwards leaving, but they have a guy right behind him. Ton of good athletes out there. And then for the Hurricanes, there was a kid. He goes to Brazier Middle. It was Griffin DeLong. He's a 2028. He was up to 82 in the first game. It was a good arm to kind of follow. And then for the Hurricanes on team one, Drake Martin, who's a recent Montreat commit that just posted this week, a left-handed hitter. He swung the bat well, showed some bat speed. And then a kid, Trey Jacobs, is another one that I kind of caught my eye. He's a first baseman. He had a double and a triple on this night, and then was up to 82 on the mound. Just a good showing from him overall. Then over at kind of piggybacking, what really stuck out over at JB Red is last week I was over there and got to see St. Joe's. And this week they happen to be back over there again. And two kids that have really stuck out for them is Carlos Ramirez from Southside High School. Last week when I was there, he had some good at bats against a good Seneca team. And then he did the same thing on Wednesday night, hit a home run. And then also Quinn Walsh. He caught my eye week one. When I was sharing with Barry, we kind of talk, we talk every day. But at the end of the week, I was talking to him about really liking that kid. That's a kid that he's seen. And he asked me if I'd seen him throw. I had not. He didn't even throw on that night. But he was up to 87 this week and another good showing. And then before I turn it over to you, there's one other player for the Abbeville group. He actually goes to 96 High School, is Devin Butler. He's a 2028, a good athlete, good-looking kid, left-handed hitter. I thought he hit one out. If you've ever been to Abbeville's field, balls don't really go out of there, but he gave it a run and ended up being a triple. So that's kind of a brief little overview. There's plenty more that we've captured on the website in the last 2 weeks, and we'll be back at it next week as well.
Well, as Cory mentioned, everything is on our website, thediamondprospects.com. While we're highlighting some of the peak performers, over the course of the week that we saw, there's a whole lot more information, a lot more names, a lot more information over the course of not only the Upstate, but the other leagues as well. So check that out on our website. And another thing that you hit on right there, Cory, was the amount of teaching that's going on with these coaches, hands-on with their players. It's just a huge advantage they wouldn't have otherwise in the month of September. And I've seen a good bit of that too. Just coaches that are able to, they got access to their players and they're taking advantage of that action. And they're just able to get things out of the way in the fall, even though they're in a game situation. The scoreboard doesn't matter as much. Shuttling players in and out, and the development portion of this is really the true value of it. Not just the practice time that they have, but in those games too, constantly teaching the X's and O's, the XYZ of a game and the ins and outs that guys need to hear. Normally you can't get right in their ear. We don't have earpieces on all 9 guys. And so you can't normally be able to get out there with them or grab them, in the middle of an inning or after the inning, you're managing a ball game. Really the focus here I've seen exactly what you're talking about. Coaches doing a super job of teaching. And that's makes us happy to see that, because that was a big reason why we outlined this years ago. It was not just for us to be able to identify players, but really more than that, the development portion of it. And we're seeing that statewide, which is really cool. I'll dive right into kind of what I saw in the Midlands. You hit on how many teams you guys saw over the course of this past week. In all 4 of our leagues, we saw 54 different teams play in the 4 leagues. In the Midlands area, we saw 16 teams, and this was the first week of the Midlands. You guys cranked up, and the Low Country cranked up last week, so you guys just completed week 2. This was the opening week for the Midlands group, and so we were able to get out and catch, like I said, a good number of teams and quite a bit of talent. And so I just want to kind of go through some of the guys that I saw that kind of made a little bit of an impression on me. I'm going to start with Ethan Offing. This time of year, typically the only time you're hearing that kid's name is either throwing touchdowns or running for him. He's decided his senior year to go ahead and take football off. He's playing baseball in the fall league, and he's a state champion quarterback. He's had a stellar career on the gridiron. In fact, when I walked up to the field the other day, he was throwing the football, and I gave him some fun with that. But he said he doesn't miss it too much. He's enjoying playing baseball. Of course, the Clemson commit is an infielder at Dutch Fork, and he played a little bit in the outfield that day. But one thing that kid does is he hits, and he hits good arms. He hits pitches that are cookies. He hits pitches, and he hits balls on the barrel. Tremendous bat speed, tremendous upside, especially for a guy that's given up the football finally and focusing the baseballs. Ethan Offing at Dutch Fork, already a very good player. Look forward to seeing more from that guy going forward. In that same game, the shortstop at River Bluff, Walker Godwin, performed well at the Palmetto games. I think he won our Gold Glove, doubled in one of his appearances there. But Walker Godwin hit a couple balls on the barrel, got the video. I wrote him up, based on what I saw that night. Walker Godwin's still uncommitted. I know he's got some interest, but that kid could fit right into a lot of lineups, both defensively and offensively. Athletic shortstop. I had a really good night on Wednesday. As I work around that league, there was another game that I got to on Tuesday night. I want to kind of camp out there for just a moment. North Augusta. North Augusta has a ton of seniors. In fact, the roster they threw out there on Tuesday night was all 2026 grads. And to highlight that, was a transfer from Strom Thurmond, a kid that just recently committed to Coastal Carolina, Landon Jones. Landon Jones had been at Strom Thurmond. Now he's at North Augusta. He was on the bump, so that was a nice surprise, actually, for me, watching him warm up. And then, of course, taking it to the mound. Topped out at 87. He was pretty much 84, 87. And the comparison I made to him, not just because of where he's going to school, but the body type and delivery, really reminds me a lot of Jacob Morrison, who had the big year for the Chanticleers this past season. That was one of the top pitchers in the country. Just delivery-wise, arm angle-wise, a lot of those same similarities with a guy who's already established at the college level and was drafted. But Landon Jones obviously adds to a very good team, and I didn't know that he swung the bat as well as he did. Hit a couple balls in the barrel and way out of there into the pines in left center to center. And then another one, he used every bit of acreage in the ballpark with a deep F8. So it looks like he's going to pose a threat in the middle or order too. But I really like North Augusta's team. They tried a couple other arms out there that I really like. Simeon Laurier is a left-hander that's very crafty, has the ability to pitch, also uncommitted. He's going to be that typical left-hander, Cory, that we've had him on our team, and we've certainly been frustrated by him on the other side. He's just that, just pounds the zone with 3 pitches, and I'm not going to right up the ladder gun. He's going to sit kind of in the low 80s, but can pitch a little bit. And Brady Jenkins is another guy that's been a mainstay for him. So those guys combined with Jordan Scott, who's playing football right now in North Augusta, looks pretty good. The middle infield, Dylan Morrison's a player that I've liked the last couple of falls, kind of came on the scene last fall. He's very, very interesting. So right out of the gate, Kevin Lynn's group out of North Augusta is somebody that I would say has certainly upgraded either through their transfer portal of sorts or just, player development, keeping the guys, developing the guys that they've had in the organization already. In that same game, Denzel Posey is a name we mostly know as an arm. He's running up to the upper 80s as projectable as anybody you're going to find with a big frame, and he's got a good arm, but he didn't throw that particular night. He swung the bat and hit a ball 99 off the bat, ate up a shortstop, also hit a ground rule double. And so the bat's coming along pretty good for the White Knoll Timberwolves. And so that's pretty much what I got out of there on that Tuesday night. I'm just looking to see if there's anybody else that I want to highlight. Alex Abreu around the league. Alex Abreu threw real well. He was in the border battle earlier that I guess the weekend prior. He threw whenever other coverage threw. It was up to 80, 89, 90, and somebody obviously that we've been able to follow. He's been to a lot of our events, and when he's in the zone, his 3-pitch mix is as good as anybody's around. And so that's pretty much what we got out of the Midlands. We're glad that, as you mentioned, good weather. I mean, the weather was perfect. Sure is nice to be able to go to the ballpark and actually be able to work during the day and not have to, check the radar and figure out, just where to go. And if games are going to be, you got to alert the umpires and everything that comes with approaching weather. It's been nice so far to be able to just, for the most part, schedule these games and know where we're going to go and go watch baseball. So all that's been pretty good. I know you wanted to mention a little bit something else that happened in one of our other leagues with Banks Wickersham.
Yeah, I was, kind of before we got on, I was actually catching up on everything that had happened, in the low country and things like that. And the thing that really caught my eye is Banks Wickersham. Was up to 94 the other day. He's a good player. We've seen 91, 92, done a little bit of everything, but being up to 94 definitely is merits a shout out. And Brady Quirk, who's a 2028 there, was up to 87. 4D had a good group last year. I know they lost a couple of guys, but still have some talent there. And, once again, the low country looks to be strong. That league seems to be going well also. So that's good to hear that all four of them are rolling.
One other thing I meant to mention with the Midlands, you mentioned the All-Star game back at Clemson. We're going to be back in the Midlands. All-Star game is going to return to where the Blowfish play, Lexington County Stadium, where the Columbia Blowfish play. We'll be able to do that. I'm actually having a meeting later today with their owner to kind of go over everything. They were tremendous last year. They do more than just the baseball game. They do a tremendous job of having us there. So we look forward to returning there. That's going to be the Tuesday, Wednesday, right before Halloween in the Midlands. We'll wrap up the league play the week before and then have the All-Star game on that Tuesday, Wednesday before Halloween at the Blowfish. So I want to mention that. And I also want to go up to the Greater Rock Hill League real quick. A player that I saw a couple of weeks ago at Indianland, and then Gary Randall was able to lay eyes on him a couple of nights ago too. And if you've been up to Indianland, it's kind of out in the sticks a little bit, at least that's the way GPS takes me. But when you get there, Hal Bagwell's just really, I mean, from the facility to the program that he's really built from scratch. Even though it's been there for a long time, they haven't had the success that they've had here recently. But he's just got a stable of players, and it's been interesting to kind of catch up with those guys. But the shortstop that he's got there is somebody that's very, very interesting. And Joseph Rutledge, he's a 27 fielder, somebody I look back on it, Cory, is somebody that should have been at the Palmetto games. A really good player. Defensively, he can run, swings the bat. Somebody that's really come on and emerged as a name in that 27 class as one of the top players at his position, but also in that class in general. So we look forward to seeing a little more from Rutledge going forward. But you got a good report from GR. So GR signs off on you. You must be okay. So. But that's kind of our roundup across our 4 leagues. Cory, did we leave anything out as far as anything that we saw or any other notes from our 4 leagues or specifically yours?
No, not really. I mean, one thing I was going to mention is, we have the Dinger Central page. So if someone hits a home run, to be sure to reach out to us. I mean, the coaches have done a good job of texting me and things like that. But, once they get home late and have to get ready for school the next day, I mean, there's no problem with sending us a message or even tagging us on social media with that home run. If you tag us on there, we look at enough. I mean, I kind of use that. Oh, if I see it, I'll upload that. So anything that you can do. And also, I mean, as players are having success and things like that, please tag us in that on social media. I mean, we can only be in, 2 to 3 places in a night within the league, but the more that we get to see, the better.
Well, we got 162 teams, and we're certainly doing the best we can to check them off one by one. And we've gotten off to a good start. I mean, we've still got plenty of baseball left, but we've been able to lay eyes on quite a few guys, and we're working our way around, folks. We're doing the best we can. Not only just the 2 of us, but we've got a team of people that are getting out and catching as much baseball as we possibly can. And hopefully, if the weather continues to hold up for us, it makes it a whole lot easier for us to be able to basically execute the checklist that we have to go down and see as many people as we possibly can. So please report that everything's going well across all 4 leagues as far as we can tell. And and hopefully you guys have enjoyed any of the baseball that you've been able to take in. You mentioned Dinger Central. That's just a running list of home runs. So yeah, as he said, let us know. We've got a pretty good list on there already. We divide them up by week, so you can look and see who's already gone deep in the various leagues. And then also with that, the schedule that's one thing we get a lot of questions about is the schedule. You're probably better to talk about this than I am.
Yeah.
About how we inch our way through the fall versus putting out a full-fledged fall
Yep.
schedule. If you can
And
kind of address
I'm
that
glad
for us.
you brought that up because in the upstate league, and that's what I'm going to speak on in particular, and it's pretty much the same across the board. Is right now we have, and I've gotten this question already. We're entering week 3, and on our website we have the first 3 weeks. On Monday, I'm going to post weeks 4 and 5, and then the week after that, I will do week 6. So everybody asks, like, "There's only 3 games listed. Are we going to play in October?" Yes, and I've talked to a couple of parents at the field, and it's good to bring this up. And the reason why I do that, yeah, I could put out all 6 weeks at one time, but with weather, some facilities we can use, some we can't because of overseeding and just a ton of variables. Like I was talking to a parent the other day, I said, if I go ahead and put yours out, all 6 weeks, and then I go through and I change that thing 2 to 3 times, you're going to think that I have no idea what I'm doing. Whereas right now, I can just use my spreadsheet and change it, and you won't know. I said, so you definitely, everyone is going to play the 6 games. But yeah, so we kind of break it up because there's ton of factors. And also, Austin, you can talk about this, as we go around and see these teams, it kind of allows us, that would be a good matchup in week 5 or 6.
Mhm.
And, it makes a more competitive balance and things of that nature. So that's kind of the reason why everyone will play once a week. Um, you will get your game each week, but it's broke up. There's a ton of reasons, but it also allows it to be a little smoother on your end. Like I said, that way you don't know that your game has been switched 5 times.
We would 100% love to throw that out there before the first pitch is thrown. Here's your schedule, go get it. But it just gives us a lot more flexibility, like you said, whether it be matchups, certainly if rain were to come into play. Last year we had a hurricane come through and it blew everything up, and it just gives us more flexibility with any adjustments that we need to make. Yeah, and as those things become official, we got to get umpire approval, we got to get team approval, and then of course we post it on the website for you guys. We're not withholding information or evidence. We're just trying to make sure to the best of our ability we get it right, and then once we feel like we've got it right, then we post it on the website. So I appreciate you addressing that. I think that's an important thing. That's a question I get a whole lot about is just the timeline on when we get that information out to folks. And we want to, if you've been around DP at all, we certainly aren't trying to keep secrets from anybody. We want to get information out. We want to be very thorough. We want to try to pre-answer a lot of questions you may have, or even things you haven't even thought about. We try to get out in front of all those things, whether it be our events and certainly this fall league and our 4 fall leagues as well. So we appreciate you joining us today. A couple of other items of business I want to touch on real quick is our our fall showcase is coming up November 1st. And it's starting to feel right now. We've got quite a few that are signed up right out of the gate. We reduced the price a little bit this year. We dropped it $50 to start with, and then another $50 price break if you sign up before September 29th. We call it our early deadline. So if you're listening to this and you think that's something you want to do on November 1st, everyone's saving a little bit of money right out of the gate. But if you can jump through the hoop a little bit sooner and you want to do that and get signed up, September 29th is the early deadline. You can do that. For November 1st, that'll be at River Bluff. All the information is on our website. As we talked earlier, and I mentioned as well, just go on our website, thediamondprospects.com. There's so much on there, from commitments as they roll out and as we get closer to the early signing period. Basically, from the Palmetto games to that first week in November, you're going to see a ton of commitments. We do put all that stuff out on our social media platforms, be it Twitter, X, and Instagram. You'll find all of that. We find out, we get it posted, and you can see list of where guys have already committed. Our rankings are on there, and we update those inside the rankings when guys commit. So it's an exciting time for these kids that are trying to make decisions on their future. It's a very big decision, but it's always something we want to celebrate with those kids and with those families and programs when they do make that decision. So just check out our website, thediamondprospects.com. You don't have to take my word for it. Go look at it and see what you think. We do pine over it, try to put as much information out there as possible. One other thing, we talk about Pound of Pros, there's a button on there that takes you to every single player that has ties to South Carolina. If they played high school or college baseball in South Carolina, at the click of a button, you can see the list and you can go and pull their stats up to date with how they've done so far over the course of their pro season. So we always like to keep, as much as we're always trying to find the next wave of players that can play, we like to keep tabs on those guys that have come through and just be able to follow their flight, hopefully, in their trek to get into the big leagues. That's all I've got, Corey. Before we wrap up, do you have any parting shots before we go?
No, that's pretty much everything from here. So enjoy the, baseball during the week and, living in South Carolina, the college football on the weekends for some of us. I'm a Georgia fan, so I still enjoy it, but the other two schools, not so much.
And of course, you had to throw a shot over the bow right there, fired a shot. Both of us actually have this weekend off before we're going to both be in Florida the next couple of weekends plus, and it's just interesting. It looks like the weather's going to be good, so we look forward to spending some family time. I know you will as well. We don't get to do that very much, so we're looking forward to that as well. And hopefully you can, wherever you'll be, whether it be at a college football stadium, tailgating, or maybe you'll find some travel ball over the course of the weekend, wherever you'll be. I hope it's a good one, and we look forward to seeing you out at the ballpark very, very soon. For Cory Welch, I'm Austin Alexander signing off for this episode of The Bullpen Show.